Nice.
Welcome to our last Hangout live from the simulation. It's the fifth day of the simulation. Our analog astronauts and the field crew are on the Conatal Glacier in nearby Feisten. We have analog astronaut Carmen Köhler and Inigo, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna fail the name now, Munoz Elorza. They are ready to answer your questions. In the middle, you can see Gernot Grömer. He's the expert lead from the mission. And next to me, we have Laura Zanardini, an Italian name this time, who's gonna answer questions on flight direction. They're gonna introduce themselves a little bit. My name is Alex Hofmann. I'm part of the MediaCom and I'm gonna host this hangout tonight. So also, if you have any questions, you can participate in this hangout. You can use our hangout page and ask any question you're interested in about the simulation, about everything you always wanted to know. This is our last hangout, so it's your last chance to ask us. And use the hashtag Amadi50 on social media to contact us. I would suggest that everyone presents themselves a little bit. Okay, Laura, can you start?
Yes, so welcome to Earth. My name is Laura Zanardini. I am the flight director for today's fifth day of the mission. And as a background, I'm a space engineer. I come from Italy and I work as a flight controller in the Columbus Control Center in Oberpfaffenhofen near Munich. So my day-to-day job is to maintain and control the Columbus model on board the ISS, but I'm using this great opportunity to visit Mars and to support an analog Mars mission about which you will hear all the details from the Red Planet. And this is a very particular and interesting opportunity for me to be part of this exciting adventure and to actually see the difference with what I do from my daily job. So it's been so far a great mission, a great interest, and I'm sure you will be part of this interesting discussion in a minute from the other side of the planet.
Yeah, by the way, the other side, let's switch to the glacier, or let's better say, let's switch to Mars. Here in Innsbruck, we have to say we have about like 34 degrees. We are all melting. How much is the temperature on the glacier or on Mars?
On Mars, I think it's about 15 degrees at the moment. We had a bit of rain today, but just slight drizzle. And yeah, but other than that, we had a great 5 days. The weather was beautiful, and we really enjoyed the weather on Mars.
By the way, this is Carmen. Can you present yourself a little bit?
I'm Carmen Köhler, and I'm an analog astronaut for the Austrian Space Forum. And here on Mars, I conduct experiments for the PIs, the principal investigators. And it's very interesting what kind of experiments we're doing. And you are free to ask all the questions you want to about all the experiments, because we have a lot to tell about that. And in my life on Earth, I am EarthCom for the next week. And in my other life on Earth, I work at the German Weather Service, and there I try to improve the weather forecast with side to solar radiation. So I program a lot, and here I simulate. So it's very nice.
Well, I'm Íñigo Muñoz. I'm an analog astronaut of the Austrian Space Forum, like Carmen. And I am a Mars pioneer, like all of us that we are participating in this simulation, and all of us that are following us. We are part of the, trying to achieve the same goal and settling to Mars one day. Apart from the simulation, in my normal life, it happens that I am as well an aerospace engineer, like Laura, and I work really crossing the street from her control center in Oberpfaffenhofen as well, but in the Galileo Control Center. And yeah, I'm there as a mission operations engineer, mainly preparing the operations for Galileo, the European ground navigation system positioning system. And today I have been performing the suit. I have been performing the EVA today until the control and command from Laura and all the people at MSC. And we just performed the doffing 5 minutes ago. So I'm fresh from the suit to actually do the hangout. Well, maybe fresh is not the correct word, as I see.
Astronauts have to do. They have to be very spontaneous. Okay, we have a last person. Kenneth
Yeah.
Gruber, can you present yourself?
Yes, my name is Kenneth Gruber. I'm the expedition leader for the MID-50 mission. I'm also the president of the Austrian Space Forum. In my civilian life, I'm somewhere in between astrophysics and astrobiology. And I'm very excited to learn that, as I just learned before at the beginning of the hangout, there's quite a number of people watching right now. And this is super exciting because we're not only doing cutting-edge research here, but we're sharing it with the public. So I love that interaction because, as I always say in almost every interview we give, and there's a lot of them right now here, we firmly believe the first human to walk on Mars is already born and might be just now watching this hangout now. So hang on to your seats, kids. This is something for you maybe in 20 to 30 years. Yay!
Great. So actually, I listed some questions I wanted to ask you. My first one was, can you describe the situation on the glacier? But I've heard that it's possible also to walk around and to see the Mars habitat.
Absolutely. Yes.
No one of us has been on Mars before. You should take it.
Absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna make a very short tour and just have a small swap around the areas. You see what's up there, and have a very small, like 2-minute tour of the habitation model itself we're doing right now. Now we're gonna take up here the equipment, and with some luck, no cables are ruptured here. And we'll take you outside. Actually, see the spacesuits are right in the background, and we're going outside now. It's still drizzling. No, we have a dry moment actually here, and so this is well, these are our workhorses. You see right here. You see the quad bikes we're using. Actually, 4 of them. What you don't see right here now is the BOC, which is our robotic transportation vehicle with the capability of up to 250 kilograms, so to say. You should see a little bit of the glacier in the background. If I turn around like this, it's a dirty glacier. That's normal. Most people think glaciers always have to be white. No, they don't have to be. So if you scratch the surface like just a few millimeters, you are down to pure ice. And you suddenly realize when you're working on the glacier, oh my God, there's like 20 meters of purest compact ice just below you, which is concrete hard. And it's an absolute privilege to work in such an environment, so to say. Now, I'll give you an overview about the station itself. You see the base habitat number 1. So we hope to have more in the future. And this is our workplace. We don't sleep here, we just work here. We have a different location for staying overnight. And with that having said, I think we should walk somewhat backwards again. That's something you don't do with a spacesuit, actually. Walking backwards is just too dangerous. If you fall on your life support system, that's something you don't want to. And here we go. So we have the donning station, where the 2 spacesuits just underwent the A-check. That's the normal technical checkout just after an extravehicular activity to see if everything is all right, if there are minor things which need to be repaired or so. Then we basically have here part of the science station. There's not that much to see right now, except for the PUDI rovers, which are charging right now. These are robotic vehicles which are deployed in the morning, and they are controlled by Budapest in Hungary, by the PUDI X-Prize, Google Lunar X-Prize team. And so we release them in the wild, and with some luck, we find them again in the evening to bring them back, and in the meantime, they do their autonomous navigation. So today I was the hunter for them, and they almost got lost. So these little babies sometimes have a will of their own, as we see. So the third part actually, here the control stations. This is the operation station, together with the PSYOPs, where we receive the telemetry data all in real time. And this is usually staffed with at least 2 people who are basically in real time communicating with astronauts. This is the logical representation of the base station on Mars, so to say, supported by that little thing here, the white thing, the ops box white. That is the telemetry station for the medical officer, the MEDO, which is watching the telemetry of the astronauts before it gets, with time delay, to the mission support center. In the background here, you see already the fog shower. That's one thing you probably, nobody's showering in there right now. Actually, we're heating it up right now. You should see the little light switched on. And that means that we are right now preparing the water for the analog astronauts to have their shower. Actually, Inigo is going to be one of them to enjoy it afterwards, and I'm sure he's looking forward to it.
Yeah, warm shower is always the best after an EVA.
And warm is a little bit relative, but
there's the second try is always warm.
Absolutely. Yeah, Absolutely. But there's one big advantage this fog shower has. As opposed to normal showers.
It's using much less water quantity because they are using small nozzles that is just spraying the water. So with much less water, we can have the full body covered in wet and covered in water without spending so much. So in an expedition like this one, or even in planetary expeditions, would be much useful because the water supply, of course.
This is
By the
one of our
way,
12 burns.
Rigo, I have a question. So, shower is like a really important part of the day. Can you describe like a typical day of an analog astronaut? Because I can't imagine it here on Earth.
Yes, of course. Well, the day begins with the briefing we have, just to check that we all know what we will do. And then starts the donning. I mean, the donning is a challenging process just to put on the suit. It takes around 2 hours, more or less. So 2 hours just to get dressed up, much more than I usually spend in the morning back in Munich.
You feel like a princess.
Yeah, here it's like everyone is taking care of you. So, I mean, we are really well supported by the rest of the field crew. So in that sense, I'm like the prince. But it's taking quite long because we have to be sure that everything is in place so that it doesn't sleep and we are still feeling comfortable during the EVA. Because, for example, today EVA lasted 4 hours, or 4 hours and 4 minutes to be precise, if I recall properly. But we are 4 hours with the suit, walking on the glacier, driving the quads as well. So really unbalanced terrain. We are shaking quite a lot, and everything should be really in place to be able to perform properly. Then, of course, the experiments themselves are challenging. We are manipulating really precise equipment with a lot of technology, and you can imagine a lot of buttons, not all as big as we want. And we have to use them with 3 layers of gloves that we have below the outer layer. I can show you. Yeah.
I'll bring it.
Below the outer layer, that is like the rest of the suit and it's shining. We have first this is the comfort layer, so to say, is the layer we have just in contact with our skin to protect our skin and to be ready. Then we have the exoskeleton gloves. I don't know if you can see, but here you can see that there's like a lot of gum in all the fingers. So this will be strapped later on to the exoskeleton. So even our fingers will have reduced mobility. So that is already to simulate the pressurization inside the suit. So the dexterity we may have is as well impacted. That's one of the hardest thing. And then we have the outer layer. This is the outer layer. As you can see, I don't know if you recall how the hands of Carmen were not that big. You can compare before and after. And manipulating. Yeah, now are real big, at least the right one. And manipulating all the experiment with the gloves and the rest of the suit is challenging, but really rewarding once you finish the runs.
Okay, Carmen, can you describe me like how is the feeling to be? You mentioned you are 4 hours in the suit. That's quite a long time. Like, how is this to be in this suit? How do you feel in that?
I absolutely love being in the suit for once, and it feels as if you're a bit like in your own space shuttle. And because you have everything, you have a bit of a kitchen, you have the water there, and you have the ventilation because it's a bit warm, and so it's just feels very at home. It's nice. The temperature gets regulated, so it's very comfortable. And of course, it's a bit heavier than I would normally walk around at home. But but you get used to that, and you get your tricks how to feel comfortable at home in the spacesuit. And I really like it. And the ventilation sounds very nice as well after a while. I like it. I think it has a very calming effect because it's very regular.
It's unwrestling when it's not making a sound.
Absolutely. The more silent it is, the more unwrestling it is.
Okay, we're gonna switch back to Earth for a little bit. We have, as I mentioned before, we have Laura here. She's a flight director. In all these chaos we have seen there, what is your job? Do you have to do with them?
Okay, so as said, we are here on Earth. We have a mission support center. So our main job is to help the analog astronauts to do as much as possible in a good way. So we take care of the planning with a dedicated group, and in the flight support, flight control team, we take care that we are following as much as possible what they do. The big challenge that we have in Mars is the fact that all the information that we receive takes 10 minutes to come to us, and we take 10 minutes to give them back information. So our job, and what makes it very challenging, is this 20 minutes of time delay in total, 10 up and 10 down, to take an action. And that's why the flight control team is trying as much as possible to see the problems in advance, to prevent, to follow, and to be as quick as possible to react, so that don't we waste any seconds of precious suit time where these analog astronauts put a big effort in performing. So we are trying to maximize the science, maximize the useful time on the suit, and to perform, of course, meaningful experiment to give them as precise as possible indication in such a challenging environment as the glacier is turning out to be, because we have daily changes of the outside situation, we have evolutions, and we are really trying to keep up with the changes and to be as prepared as possible, and also to foresee any possible issues and challenging coming. So it is a great work, a great challenge to face every day, but we the flight control team is responding very well and is really doing a great support activity for them. So I hope they are also satisfied with the result, but on Earth we are really happy.
We are really appreciating what you're doing. It's perfect.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Without mission support, there would be no mission. There would nothing we could do. We'd be lost wanderers.
And the same for us. We are really counting on them and on their preparation, and it's really going very well. The communication is actually, despite the 10 minutes, is very efficient. We have trained a lot to be as good as possible, as precise as possible, to not waste any precious communication. So all the things that are voiced up to Mars are said in an appropriate way, so that we can get the maximum clarity and avoid to wait 20 minutes for a feedback. So this has been practiced and is actually working very well. So we are trying to get as quick as possible and as better as possible.
By the way, communication, like 20 minutes to go to Mars and to come back, 10 minutes to send a message to Mars and to take the message back is like a long time. Do you have like some rules you use to communicate to the astronauts?
Well, so one of the basic rules that we have is that we have a single voice. So, and our voice is actually in the Mission Support Center and in the base is a chat. So we use text from Earth to Mars and back, and we have some hashtags that we can use in this chat to label conversations in a way that we can quickly identify what is the topic and to follow the exchange of information, because you can imagine that we are writing something and also Mars is writing something, and then the communications are crossed and we need to be able to follow the logic and follow the flow in a very efficient way and without losing any important message in between. But we are getting so good that sometimes we are even telepathic. We are writing the answers even before the questions count. And today it happened twice on both sides.
That was pretty spooky.
Quite a miracle.
I think we're gonna receive a question from the public, but it's kind of small to read. So wait. It says, "Have you taken any inspiration of your analog activities from the recent book, The Martian?" Is someone asking? It's Daniel Zuka.
Well,
Feel free to answer that.
yeah, I think we can all a little chip in on this a little bit. I've been reading The Martian. I've hardly laughed so much during reading a book, and it's technically so accurate and so plausible of how he writes. I just love it, and it comes even to the point where when you read about things breaking on Mars, about things, people sweating, having fear, having hunger, having sleep deprivation, I say, oh wow, that sounds so familiar. Yeah. So yes, of course, in any field mission, no matter how good the hardware is, things will break. You will have to improvise. You have to be flexible, and that's something what we do here out there every day and every hour. We had about 1 year of preparation, 19 nations participating, and you can believe me, there was a lot of training effort behind this. Nevertheless, there's one thing you never can prepare for fully, and that's the environment. Now, the terrain out there is challenging. It's not just the slippery slopes, it's the inclination, it's the gravels, it's even rocks coming down. We realize the mountains around here, they are alive, because at night, when nobody's around us anymore, you can actually hear the mountain.
Absolutely.
Yep. And so that's something that's going to happen on Mars as well. So I think, although it's a little bit of a dramatization, of course, in the book, I think we are living the book a tiny bit here on Mars.
Yeah, you mentioned the weather, and the weather is something you can't plan in advance. That's so sad. So, which role does the weather play in the whole simulation?
The weather plays a big role, because depending on the weather, we can have an EVA or not, especially if it has rain, if it's raining outside or something. We have to take that into account and plan accordingly. So I think Laura can say a lot about it, how it goes into the daily activity plan. I just know that at the moment, they have 5 meteorologists in total for the mission. And how it goes into the daily activity plan, I would give that question over to Laura.
Yes, actually, and we experienced also this today, that you had to go back because we were predicting a slightly chance of rain, and unfortunately this actually materialized, and so we cut the EVA a little bit shorter because of the atmospheric condition. But as Carmen said, we have a full team of meteorologists here that are doing a great job in such a changing environment as the mountains, and they are giving us long range prediction and short range predictions and immediate prediction, and we try to keep our field up to date as much as possible. We have 5-6 daily updates, and in case they see a worsening of the condition, they immediately come in the flight control team room, and we immediately relay the message. So this we know is very appreciated, and it also helped a lot the planning. So we tried also to protect the morning activities, because generically the morning weather is very fine on the glacier, and then in the afternoon we just keep it quiet, and we try to achieve as much as possible without too much pressure.
So what was actually the biggest change you had to do during the mission so far, due to the weather or to any environment condition?
Well, let's say we are being as flexible as possible, and we are trying to learn a lesson every day from the previous day. So the glacier has told us a big lesson in the first days of the mission, and the fact that we have a different location and different conditions every day. So we are planning scouting activities with or without the suit to explore new locations, new areas of the glacier, to make sure that our experiments can be conducted in the appropriate location and in the ones that are most significant for the principal investigators. And we adapt on a daily basis, to make the work easier for our astronauts and for our ground scientists as well.
Okay, we have a question from the public. Again, I have to go next to the camera to see it. What were the selection timeline criteria for the MAD 15 actually? Did you have any specific requirements or goals for this summer simulation?
I think that's
Yeah.
for you.
You're talking about the site selection criteria, or? Yes. Well, the MAD 15 mission is the 11th field expedition we're doing the Austrian space from. There always is a long process beforehand where we talk about, where we assess the suitability from the topographic point of view, from the security and from the safety point of view, logistics and so on, administrative questions and so on. We even study things like grain size distribution. We take soil samples. We send out scouting missions. And then we were in the Northern Sahara, in southern Spain, in Utah. And then we realized, hey, come on, one of the most important astrobiological hotspots of Mars are glaciers and block glaciers, which are nothing else but glaciers covered with rock, and they can be active as well. Now, then we realized, oh my gosh, we have those settings right in front of our house door. And so I said, well, hey, what about if we just do the next mission in-house in the same country where the Austrian space from originated from, and that is here in Tyrol then. And so the Kaunertal offers this unique, well, not unique, but not so common combination of rock glaciers and glaciers next to each other while being at 3,000 meters altitude, so a challenging environment with all kinds of terrains where it can have everything from flat surface to steep walls, and that's exactly what we wanted to do. It's also about mobility checkouts, about the ability to challenge the robotic parts as well as the human elements of such a mission. So the Kaunertal Glacier might not look like a classical Mars analog site, but from a geological point of view, it offers some really stunning similarities where we said, well, why haven't we discovered that before that, actually?
Okay, there's like a new question coming from the public. It's so nice that we have so many questions from the public. Okay, they're gonna ask, how do you research like the psychological aspects of the simulation? Because we are mentioning so many experiments like digging in the field and researching the glacier, but there's also a human factor behind the simulation. What did you find out so far about that?
Till now, we have found out that we're have a lot of harmony going on here, and that communication is one of the most important things. We have every day, we have start in the morning with briefing and communicate what the daily activity plan will look like. We have the daily activity plan, which we try to really keep accurately. And then in the evenings, we have dinner together, which is very social, and we have a debriefing as well, so everybody can really say what they had, what kind of problems they had during the day, what they thought was very good during the day. So it's very nice that everybody can give their feedback. And additionally, there's a pool party in the evening.
It sounds nice, less leisure-like than it sounds. Yes.
And the so-called, I forgot that it's actually and maybe you want to say something about the pool party?
Pool party basically is a pool of all the team leads all together. They don't have a party, but they get together and discuss the day's issues. So it's more of a telebriefing, but still we call it pool party to fake that we pretend to be sitting around a pool with a margarita. Now, of course, there's a lot of preparation going into this. You have to choose and find the right people. You have to select them properly. You have to train them all together so that they actually know each other very well before we actually start the mission. And within a few days, we are really growing here together. And just by the tone of the voice of somebody else, you can tell about their mood. So it's a very intimate situation, like any field expedition. At the same time, you have to do a lot of trust building, of course. That means you have to trust in technology, because your life as an analog astronaut depends on the function of the machinery. You have to trust the mission support center, which we fully do, because we understand that they can take care of us. They don't make fun. They're really taking this very, very serious. And the smile of Laura right now makes me a little bit nervous, but otherwise, no, we're fully trusting on that, of course.
Smiling, by the way. No, it's just smiling.
No.
what I was always wondering about, okay, it's a simulation, and I hear the signal in here always like we say, okay, we start the simulation in the morning and then we stop it at, let's say, 3 p.m. or 4 p.m. and then we are off simulation. But if you go to Mars, you can't stop it.
Yep.
And you always have like it's always reality. So do you think that the psychological things could change due to the fact that it's real on one time and that it's not a simulation anymore?
We're all aware it's a simulation, and we know that in theory we could take off the helmet and not die instantaneously. However, believe me, when standing in the spacesuit simulator at the edge of a cliff, and you know if there's something going on right now and there's a damage in the suit or the cliff breaks off, you're gonna have a real danger. It doesn't feel like a simulation anymore. That was the case for all of our previous missions, and this is the case now here as well. That once the switch is plugged and we say now we are in sim, we have the perception that we imagine being on Mars to a point that we would not dare to open the helmet, although the temptation might be quite high, just scratching your nose or relieving it with hair from your hand, but you don't do it. Yeah, you return to the habitation while you do the repressurization. You then are allowed to change something on the suit again, and that's something which is very important. That has to be trained as well.
That's a good point, actually, because we have another question from the public regarding the suit, and they are asking that you use you wear the exoskeleton in the suit to make it difficult to move. So we all know that the spacesuit is made for the simulation, but what kind of restrictions in the movement would you like to see in a real Mars mission?
Well, we have restriction in every joint of our body. So, well, only the neck is the only one not restricted. So for me, it's really good because then we can have a look around.
We can say both yes and no.
Yeah, that would be great for safety issues. But the rest, all of the joints are being restricted. We have the exoskeleton is formed by metal parts with different joints that have been modeled based on the real restrictions on real pressurized suits. So you can see here now, this is the exoskeleton part for the arm, and completely the right arm. So we have the metal plates, and in the elbow joint, you will see there, it's a resistance inside that this is resisting more the more you bend it. So the restriction, it's an increasing restriction. So the first time you move it, it's fine. When you have to bend your full arm, it starts to be a bit heavy. The same will be, it's applying, as I said, in all the fingers and as well in the knees. So it's a fully restriction. So if you see a video and we are walking a bit strange, it's not because we are pretending doing something, it's because we are really restricted, and that's the way we or someone else would move in a real suit.
Regarding the magical issues, because the suit is a restriction, but not only the only one, because you also have the height, you have the environment. Glacier is a really high environment. What were medical results you had found out about during the EVAs, during the simulation?
Well, from the medical point of view, as much as we can tell, we're not allowed to tell every medical detail, of course, but what we can say is that once we arrived here in the acclimatization phase, I think everybody felt the altitude a little bit. 3,000 meters, it's not super high, but it's high enough that, for example, your oxygen saturation is below what you're used to, which means you're getting out of breath pretty fast, but you adapt to this. That's a thing that was expected anyway. I think the one thing, at least from my, I also have a little bit of medical background, the surprises was the amount of exhaustion we realized. Of course, we did the training, and all the analog astronauts knew how to use the suit long before we came here, of course. But still, having this exoskeleton on, the weight on it, the physiological, the psychological workload, and at the same time, being exposed to that harsh environment with this really rough terrain is a combination which is really exhaustive. And we had originally thought that it is easier to navigate up here, but that's a tough lesson learned. That the working here is more challenging than you might think. If I don't know if you can hear that, but Ray right now about to get a thunderstorm out here, which is just rolling outside. Yeah.
Yeah, regarding the not so nice part, let's say it like this, what do you think are so far the biggest problems you had to deal with?
Well, the food is good. No, I think the challenges of moving, and also that despite the fact that the principal investigators really did a wonderful job in preparing the experiments, that there still are things that can be perfectionized. There's still some meters left in terms of optimizing the workflow.
And that is the reason why we're here, to really see what we can improve. If we have the procedures, what can we do? How many analog astronauts do you need? Do you need one, or do you always need two to do different experiments? How difficult is it to bend down and get back up? And all these restrictions that we have on the one side from the analog astronauts, and on the other side from the technical issues that you have to come across. And I think that's all lessons to be learned, and I think that's definitely one of the reasons that we are here. And
yeah, regarding this, is one thing I want to say is, yeah, we have been struggling with some of the experiments because performing in the suits and some of the technical aspects were not that easy. But the good thing that we are seeing here is that those experiments were tried and tested by the PIs, but in controlled environments. Now we are in the field, we are facing the real issues being in the field, and we are seeing that, oh, that was tested and no one noticed that this detail would be a real big mess in the field. And so that's the good thing as well of this expedition and someone else alike, because we can see now that some details that no one thought before, we see them now, and we can search, or the PAs will evolve as well with their experiment, and we will improve for sure for the next runs.
I think we have to keep in mind that for almost everything we do out here, there are almost no precedences in terms of what kind of experiments are being done. With like our virtual reality experiment, for example, the all the putting certain hardware in this ambitious environment. Now, and that's also not only the challenge, but also the beauty out of it. It means that we get a sneak preview of all kinds of potential futures, and choosing here the plural word, of what kind of activities might be one day possible Mars. So it's almost like, and that's what gets me out of bed every day, that it's almost like, opening a book with white pages and writing the first pages about the way to Mars, so to say. And this is both ambitious, it's complex, it doesn't work on the first attempt. We knew it's going to be beautiful. Nobody said it's going to be easy.
Okay, concerning the experiments, we have another question from the public. What sort of testing have you done, of closed systems?
Closed systems, in terms of what? Maybe that question could be clarified.
We got another notice of self-reliance of supply material from Earth.
Okay, yes. Well, this mission does not emulate every single aspect of a human Mars mission. We are not cherry picking, but consciously choosing a few niches where we say we can work on. For instance, in terms of provision of food, yes, we cheat a little bit because we eat fresh salad every now and then, for example, because that's not part of the experiment. Now, on the other hand, there are things where you might not think that this is a typical Mars expedition issue, like a bad tooth, for example. So if you break a tooth for what reason ever, that doesn't sound like a big deal. However, if you are the pilot who is supposed to pilot a spacecraft at Mach 32 down the Martian atmosphere 2 days afterwards, that's not a good idea to have a toothache while trying to work with a joystick. Now, for that, for example, we had an experiment called Mass Dental, MADE, where they actually have a 3D scanner. It looks like a big toothbrush, actually. Where you go in the mouth, yeah. You do a 3D scan. The 3D scan gets downlinked to Earth. They basically imagine what kind of cavities need to be filled. They compile a STL file. They send it back to us. We have a printer, a 3D printer, and we print the removal part for the tooth and put it back. So that actually happened. Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the problem part a little bit. Laura, what's on your side? What do you think were the biggest difficulties so far you had to deal with, or what could you learn out of them?
Yes, as said before, for me, this is a series of lessons learned every 10 minutes. We are getting every message from the field is a lesson, is a feedback, and we are trying to every evening to convene as they also do on Mars, and to go through the problems, the questions, the uncertainties that we encounter on the day, and we already try to adjust for the next day. So for us, there are problems, there are issues, there are questions, there are things that are not going as planned, and this is the part of a space mission that you cannot take away. But what you can do is adjust and be as better for the next time. And what we are seeing is a constant improving of successful in the experiments, and a constant aim to get better results and more results. We are trying to accommodate extra requests, extra runs for experiments, different location, different sampling, different positions, different tools, to try to get every day something out of the 4 hours of EVA that we are doing. So the challenge is the beauty. So we are really
nicely said,
loving the challenges that the astronauts are bringing to us and that we are bringing to them.
Okay, let's go to it is really amazing that our public is so active and asking us so many questions. So the next one is like, to what extent do any of the field crew have unofficial contact, share info, lessons learned by other agencies like ESA or something, have played a role in that so far?
Yeah. So I think what is very important to say is this is a mission combining the effort of 19 nations and also agencies ranging from NASA, ESA, DLR. So to avoid blue sky research that we're just doing our stuff and don't listen to the left or the right, we have a Science and Technology Advisory Board, which makes sure that we're somewhat synchronized with the scenarios what we see within the major agencies. Now, in Austria, we don't really have a traditional space agency like DLR, for example, which is doing their own research projects, for example. That's something I would really find it would be a tremendous asset within the European context to have such a thing. That's something I'd really, really love to see. Now, I think the important issue is that this is the Austrian Space Forum might be a small organization, but we are fast. And I think speed is something very important here in the R&D world, because we are able to try out things which might take a long time to implement in the space agencies, the major ones, because of the processes behind this, which have a good reason, of course. Now, what we see here is that we have, for example, the Professional Observers Day, where we had professionals from major space agencies, from major universities, major industrial partners, who came here to watch us for 2 days. And I unfortunately am not allowed to say who, but we had some very, very nice feedback and say that an unnamed major space organization could learn a great deal, in particular for this kind of analog research activities, because that's not so much on the radar of the large agencies. Now, what I do see, however, is that there is this cooking in this on the stove of great ideas which might one day lead us to Earth and to Mars, and to Mars and to the Moon. Now, I think those missions are extremely important to learn a lot. So it's not about defining how a spacesuit must look like when you go to Mars, but we're just scratching the surface by learning to ask the right questions. We're learning to crawl at this moment right now.
Okay, regarding learning, so if you would wake up tomorrow and you would have like a new mission and you could just like decide like a god, okay, I'm gonna change this and this and this aspect, what would be the first thing you would like to change or do different?
That's a good question, actually. That's an insightful question, actually. Any spontaneous thoughts on that? I would say more suits, more quads, more altitude, more experiments.
More altitude, maybe not.
Yeah. More clones of this wonderful field crew.
And the egg fleet.
Oh. See, that's the reason why we belong so much together.
Okay, let them think maybe a little bit about it. We have another question from the public. It's from Facebook. Can you stumble with your suit? And if yes, how to get up again?
Okay, what happens if you fall?
Okay, I must admit that I did fall once. The situation was the following: that I was walking, and as you know, we have the glacier in the front, and I was walking, and there was mud, and Inigo was in the other spacesuit simulator, and he was walking in front of me, and I thought like, okay, I'll just follow, but I walked a bit farther to the right hand side, and there the soil was very soft, and so I just sunk in, and then I fell. And what we have is safety, and we always have safeties with us that take care of us, that make sure that we're safe. And safety helped me get out of that situation. And safety is a person. Yes, I was safety today, for example. Yeah, because we have the 3S principle, which is safety, science, and simulation. And so safety goes first, and then we do science and then simulation.
This is what I actually was asking you about, like what's like the most important aspect. Okay, we realized it's safety. So Laura, maybe you can explain us from the mission what worked this time really good, or where would you like say, I didn't expect that to work that good, but I was surprised that it went so well.
Okay, yeah, from my side, what I noticed and what I'm really positively surprised about is the fact that despite we have several different teams in different locations, we also here in the Mission Support Center, we have 4 fully staffed room of professionals doing different jobs: the flight control team, the media team, the science support, and the flight planning. And then we have a kind of same construction also on the field. The whole groups, the synergy is really a great thing. We are communicating, we are sharing, we are all trying to keep ourselves informed, and so far the flow of information has always been done in a very good way. Nobody was ever surprised about anything, and we have tried to always be on the same page. And I think it's really amazing, despite being on 2 different planets and also on the same planet in different locations, we are really trying to keep ourselves as close as possible, and also the feeling of being a team is very much felt. We have our EarthCom, our communicators every morning trying to be there ready with the chat as soon as possible, because they want to make the astronauts feel their presence. So they immediately, I can enter the room and they are already there with the chat ready and ready to send the message to Mars, and to try to make them feel, oh, the Mission Support Center is here, we are ready, how is it going, good morning. And then we start our day really with a very warm feeling of we are all in this together, and we keep it. And they don't want to leave the console when I tell them, okay, the day is over, let's do an evening briefing. Yeah, but there is still some message we should catch up, and let's do this. So it's really, we start the day together, we end the day together, and it's really a very good cohesion and a very good working environment.
Okay, from the field side, what would you think is like the most impressive thing or the best thing you've experienced so far?
Yeah. Well, I'm really amazed about us, the amount of things that we can achieve with such a small crew. I mean, well, we are not that small. We have been between 10 and 12 people up here, but there are a lot of tasks to be done every day. We have to set all the Wi-Fi connectivity to have coverage in all the area we are doing, and that's not something easy like plugging the router in your house. And there are a lot of technical problems going on that may arise just by chance, and you have to solve them really quickly. And it's always solved before leaving. So all the small details and issues that may appear in an expedition that you don't count them before can be solved and can be progressed without impacting the mission with such a small crew, because some of the people are more specialized, but we are quite versatile as a group. And I think that has been the most impressive thing, that we have different backgrounds, but working like a single machine, we are working pretty well. I'm really impressed by that, and yeah, I hope to work in the same way with all the groups I'm working in the future.
Yeah, do you have maybe like a specific small story you want to share with the public about like a great experience you've made like some in the last days?
Well, maybe there is something I can share. And you have to understand that we are in a really quite remote location here. And so when night falls, you are very much alone with the crew. And it's almost like a little family when we sit together at dinner and reflect on the day. Now, when you then walk from the habitation module to the sleeping quarters, there's a couple of those meters. You're walking over a flat terrain. And when we had a couple of nights where there was 0 clouds, so it's really beautiful alpine starry sky. You see the planets, you need to see the stars. We even had an ice fly over a couple of days ago. So I was walking like 2 days ago over a parking lot in almost pitch black darkness, deciding not to use my flashlights because I knew the way very well. And it struck me like, oh my gosh, this is the very same night sky we are going to encounter once we walk on Mars, with only one exception, and that is Mars is missing because we're standing on that very planet, but there's another star/planet being visible, and that'll be the Earth. And that's the first thing I think I'd gonna look for when I spend my first night on Mars in my dreams. Where's this little fragile oasis where we came from? And it's like almost like if I would have felt a connection to that moment in 20 or 30 years from now, that there will be humans walking on Mars, seeing my night sky, our night sky, one people, one planet, with this little difference. And that is the moment that I realize that we are actually part, like the shipbuilders of our greatest journey our society is encountering these years, this generation. And there was a moment, took like a couple of seconds on to realize, but like it stunned me, like, wow, I'm in the middle of this, yeah? And that's a privilege.
Yeah, we received also a really nice comment from the public. We feel free to share it. It's that a trip to Mars should be public funded with private support. If there are people who want to go, we should send them with enthusiasm. Love to you all. So this is what we also received.
Oh, thank you so much. Awesome. Thank you.
This is really nice to see such a live support in this hangout today. So I was also wondering, we mentioned many aspects and many points and all that, but if you could choose one thing regarding a real Mars mission, not a simulation, you would focus on, okay, we have to do that one and then conduct the real Mars mission. What aspect would you choose and where would you focus on the most?
Working at the German Weather Service, I would probably focus on the weather forecast for Mars, because I think it's very important to grasp the dust storms there, as we also read in The Martian, to get back to the first point. So at the moment, there are different numerical weather prediction models for Mars, and there is Mars weather forecast, not Mars simulation weather forecast as we have it at the moment. And we actually follow that at the German Weather Service at the moment, and it's very interesting. And there are a lot of satellites, so data assimilation would be possible, for example. And yeah, and they have the clouds, and the equations are the same for Earth and for Mars, and that's what I think is absolutely beautiful, that the universe follows the same equations on whichever planet you are.
Laura's same question goes to you. If you could choose like an aspect or a focus you would like improve now for a real Mars mission, or focus on for a real Mars mission, what would that be?
I would work very hard on communication, preparation of products to make sure that we maximize the efficiency of all the process, the support process. So as I'm in the mission support center, I want to take this support to the next level, to a perfect synergy with all the aspects of the communication.
Okay, so very last question to the field before we have a little surprise for the public. Will there be a next simulation mission after Amadee 15?
Yeah. Well, we have already had 11 missions with this one, so it's the next number would be 12, and I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be a 12th mission. And yes, there are a few ideas in the pipeline. It's a little bit early to talk about that, but I would say, just like as a cliffhanger in the movies or in TV, stay tuned. There might be things lurking around the corner. Who knows?
Okay.
Interesting. That sounds interesting, I would say.
These guys know about the same amount of information like everybody else now, and I'm not in the position to share that yet, but we'll see about it. However, there are options to engage for the public. So as most of you know, the Austrian Space Forum is also, and to some extent, a citizen science organization. So if one of our viewers here have the feeling, wow, this is something so cool, I'd like to be part of this, please contact us. Convince us that we need you. Yeah. And if you're lucky, maybe we see each other in one of the missions. But I understand, I do understand that there are also another interaction option for the public, Alex.
Yes, Aldi, giving me a really good hint. So actually, our hangout is now over, but we have a small present for you. So if you got a fan now and you really support the idea of going to Mars, you can support it, and you also can win something. So we have we can see it like this. We can hold it like this. A small contest. You can participate, and it's I'm a Mars Pioneer, and you can also be a Mars Pioneer. Just take a selfie with being a Mars Pioneer that can be as creative as you want, and send it to us, and you can win a lot of nice, cute prizes regarding Mars. Also, like a signed book, which is really cool. More about that you can read on our website. This hangout is over now. We thank you a lot for participating, to be so active in all the social media channels, and of course it's not over with the mission, so we have still some days to conduct the mission. Just follow us, stay in touch with us. You can ask us questions on Twitter, on Facebook, on any other channel you want. Yes, stay Martian, and thank you all for participating, and greetings to the field.
On to Mars.
On to Mars.